Europe is torn by war. Napoleon's armies penetrate the heart of the continent, leaving behind nothing but death and destruction. So enters the harvestmen, spirits of evil that feed off man's rage, pain, misery, and fear. From this darkness, the ancient nightmares of Europe's myths and legends come to haunt the countryside. For most, these creatures may go unnoticed, but for those that have survived their encounters and lived to tell the tale, they may be called to join a group called the Silver Bayonet. It is this elite unit that will be called upon to search for secrets of the harvestmen and the opportunity to destroy them. Stay tuned for our first tale as MGM presents the Silver Bayonet.
Alright, welcome back to Miniature Game Montage and our first game of the Silver Bayonet. This is going to be our introduction game. I'll be trying to learn to play as well as teach some folks that are maybe seeing this game for the first time how to play. For the British, Captain Charles Crumb will lead the Silver Bayonet unit. He's an experienced officer from Yorkshire. His fleet was attacked at port by these dark creatures. He's an exceptional leader, well fit for the job at hand. Of men also attacked in his fleet, we have a sailor and a marine. A member from a light cavalry regiment joins the outfit. Her unit was attacked in the dead of night, and even the horses were slain. A grenadier and a rifleman from the British Main, a doctor, and sometimes the Silver Bayonet will include civilians as part of their group. A native scout from the Americans has also been assigned to the unit. Like the British, the French also have a specialist unit. Captain Louis Leblanc will lead his expedition. Their unit will include an artillerist from Napoleon's army, a grenadier, and a guard. They also have someone from light cavalry, a vivandière, as well as a sapper and an occultist. Unbeknownst to the other, both of these units have been operating in the same area. Both Captain Crumb and LeBlanc have heard tales of boogeymen attacking isolated houses and farms nearby. Crumb assesses that it could be the work of common bandits, but at the French camp, the occultist Marie has advised LeBlanc that something else is at play, as parts of the dead are missing. Regardless, both forces were dispatched to investigate the area. Clues are strewn across the area which will help them make sense of what is happening. Make no mistake, the British and French aren't on good terms, and if their paths should cross, they will open fire. We now take you there as our first chapter unfolds. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a thumbs up if you enjoy the video, and don't forget you can check out our hobby journey here on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, miniaturegamemontage.com. The British win the initiative for the first turn, get to activate half of their units rounding down. They send their native scout into the wooded terrain and elect to sprint her forward. They also elect to move and attempt to sprint with the light cavalry. While the sailor does the same, the rifleman is going to elect to move forward and fire his rifle, which has a 30-inch range. He has a +2 to his accuracy. The sapper is in the open and he takes a shot, lands a 13, +2 is 15, which is a hit. The rifle's damage is assessed by the blue skill die, which is 4. The sapper will have 6 wounds remaining. We do see the sapper make a dive for cover, getting to move at 2 inches. As the turn swings to the French, we see the sapper move forward. He will need to use a sprint to get a little closer. And then we see Captain LeBlanc moving up beside him. A 7-inch move will allow him to investigate the marker. The 10 of diamonds is pulled, which is a partially chewed limb. This does force a courage check, which is passed. Up next, the French send their occultist, the light cavalry, and the vivandière forward. The artillerist elects to move and sprint as he gets next to the clue marker. The French grenadier also elects to move forward, trying to stay in cover behind the trees. The guard then looks to reposition down the center of the board as we go back to the English for the rest of their activations. Captain Crumb elects to move forward. With a sprint, the doctor will follow behind him. The Marine elects to pull forward on the right flank and will aim his musket at the approaching sapper and open fire. While he scores a 13 plus 1, the move and cover offset the shot and it misses. The British then activate their guard and send him up the center. The guard pulls his musket and targets Captain LeBlanc, but misses. Both Captain LeBlanc and the sapper are going to elect to dive for cover, moving forward 2 inches. As turn 1 comes to a close, the French were able to investigate one of the clues, finding a severed limb. While the sapper was hit by rifle fire, there were no casualties. There's still numerous clues on the board to investigate as both sides try to figure out what's happening in this village. Turn 2 initiative rolls come out. The French get a 4 and the British will take the initiative. They are going to activate the Grenadier, and he has a musket looking to reload and fire down at the sapper who is in the open. While the shot is an initial miss, a point of fate is used to re-roll the skill die, and that will convert into a hit. The musket uses the power die for damage, and it will inflict 8 and take the sapper out of the game. With the first casualty of the game, the rifleman elects to reload and fire as well. He is targeting Captain LeBlanc. And while his shot is going to miss, we will see the Marine move forward, and he is going to elect to reload, while the sailor moves up and investigates a clue. A growl comes forward and a hobgoblin appears, obviously wanting something in the boxes. The hobgoblin lunges at the closest target, which will be Captain Crumb. The goblin wields a heavy weapon but misses on his first swing. Captain Crumb does no better on his counterattack, and the two become fatigued. As the turn swings back to the French for their activation, the artillerist is going to search the clue marker, turning up the Queen of Diamonds. Strange claw marks allow them to add 1 monster die to their fate pool. The artillerist then moves forward, seeking cover behind the wagon. The French Grenadier is next to activate as he moves forward, and he is going to attempt to target the British rifleman. The rifleman is standing in the open, but the shot is going to miss. Captain LeBlanc activates next. He is going to move forward 7 inches, and he is going to attempt to fire his blunderbuss at the goblin. His shot, however, is wildly off target. The French then order the Vivandier and the occultist to run forward with a sprint. From the back of the French line, the guard moves forward and takes a shot with his musket, targeting the rifleman, but the shot is going to miss. The French attempt to use a point of fate to re-roll the skill die, but to no avail. The soldier from light cavalry is going to move and sprint into cover. As we move back to the British, the doctor is going to pull his pistol out and attempt to shoot at the hobgoblin. He only rolls a 9, however, using a point of fate to re-roll the power die, and this should technically be a hit, but we missed it. The fatigue marker on the hobgoblin would have made him a point easier to hit. We then see the native scout move forward and find some strange footprints, allowing them to add a monster die to their pool. The light cavalry unit is then going to move into contact with the French artillerist. And even with her +2, she still misses, electing to re-roll the skill die, and it's still a 1. The artillerist looks to swing back, and he is going to re-roll the power, trying to get a little more out of it. He does land a hit and inflicts 5 damage with his hand weapon. And the light cavalry unit for the British now has 5 wounds remaining, both fighters becoming fatigued from the combat. Up next, Captain Crumb pulls his pistol out, aims it at the hobgoblin, and fires. While the shot is a miss, he re-rolls the power die and lands a hit. This takes the hobgoblin down to 9 wounds. Turn 2 concludes, and we did see the French sapper get taken off the board in that exchange with rifle and musket fire. Light cavalry charged in for the British, but was unable to take down the French artillerist. Initiative rolls drop out for turn 3, and we're going back to the British for the start of the turn. And to start, the rifleman Henry reloads his rifle and fires at the oncoming goblin. He has a +2 modifier on his accuracy and lands a hit as the hobgoblin is fatigued. A monster die is used to negate some of the damage here, and it will be 4 points negated. The hobgoblin will go down to 5 wounds. Captain Crumb wants to draw his sword and put the hobgoblin out of his misery as he charges into melee. He completely misses the creature, rolling a 4, and the hobgoblin strikes him back with his heavy weapon. The hobgoblin rolls a 17 and 10 on the power die. With some modifiers, he nearly takes the British captain out of action. Seeing this, the grenadier reloads his musket and fires at the hobgoblin. His shot, however, only does 2 damage. The doctor attempts to fire his pistol, but misses. The vivandière then moves into contact with the clue marker and draws the Jack of Diamonds, which is a mutilated corpse. A 10+ courage check is just passed. The French artillerist then fires his pistol into the cavalry and lands a hit on that 14. It will be enough to take her down. The artillerist then elects to hold and reload his pistol. Meanwhile, the grenadier fires down at the rifleman, still in the open, but misses again. Captain LeBlanc readies his pistol at the middle of the board and then attempts to fire into the hobgoblin. He lands a major hit, and a monster die is used to try to negate the damage, but it's not enough. The hobgoblin is taken out by the captain of the French. With the creature seemingly dealt with, the French now turn their attention fully back to the British as Captain LeBlanc moves into cover. From across the board, the guard fires and just lands a hit onto the rifleman who is in the open. His shot severely wounds him. French light cavalry then jump over the fence, pulls out a pistol and attempts to fire at the Marine, and he is just going to miss. The occultist attempts to cast a spell to change one of their monster die into a different type of die, but she fails. As the turn swings back to the British, the Marine is going to fire his musket. Although the target is in cover, he easily lands a hit and inflicts 5 damage onto the approaching light cavalry. Landing his shot, the Marine will then elect to reload his musket and hold steady. The native scout is going to move to the edge of the woods. She is a master of cover, so she gets a benefit from being in it. The sailor is going to climb onto the building. With no eligible targets, the turn will come to a close, as the French were able to eliminate the hobgoblin in that turn. Another turn concludes, and the French now have investigated 3 markers, while the British have investigated 2. The French have taken out the creature, and now it is just the British and the French going against each other. The French do win the initiative in this one, send their light cavalry forward, and she attempts to swing onto the Marine but misses. The Marine swings back, getting +1 in melee, and inflicts more damage. Both fighters become fatigued as a result. The guard from across the way once again is going to reload his musket and fire at the rifleman. He is easily going to land a hit and take the rifleman out. With the French force's 3rd activation, the artillerist will be selected to move. And he fires his pistol into Captain Crumb. He lands a 20, critically wounding the captain. And with the loss of Captain Crumb, things are not looking too well for the British, but we are going to swing over to them for their activations as the Marine has a musket ball loaded. He turns it to the advancing light cavalry and fires. He easily lands a hit, which will be enough to take the enemy down. The Marine then forgoes moving to reload his weapon. Next, the British doctor moves into cover and elects to fire his pistol, but he is just going to miss the French artillerist. The British rifleman again reloads his weapon and fires at the artillerist but misses. The sailor then moves down the stairs, attempts to fire at Captain LeBlanc, but he misses as well. And while this is going on, the native scout is going to move into contact with the French grenadier. This does require a successful sprint, which is good. She only rolls a 4, however, on her melee, and then she is countered. The French still have some fate die, using one here to assess some damage. As both fighters become fatigued, we move back to the French for their remaining activations. A successful spell here from the occultists allow them to change a monster die into a different type of fate die. Captain LeBlanc goes into combat with the sailor and lands a hit. The captain rolls a 10 on his skill die, which is enough to take the sailor down. Captain LeBlanc has become fatigued from the combat, but has done more than enough today to lead his unit to a victorious outing. In remaining activations, he commands his guard to fire down at the native scout. With his musket, he reloads first and lands a hit, and that will be enough to take the native scout off the board. The French consolidate with some of the remaining moves, and the British sound the horn to retreat. As the British retreat back to the safety of their camp, we did have some post-game updates to share. Both the fighters for the French that went out of action made a full recovery. The British were vastly similar, except for Captain Crumb, who had a serious injury resulting in the shakes. This will permanently reduce his accuracy by 1. We'll update the XP and have all the fighters updated for the next game. Really hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Silver Bayonet. I know that we got some things wrong, and I'll try to go back and watch the footage and make some comments and pins where I see mistakes. If you happen to catch any and you're a Silver Bayonet veteran, be sure to leave those down in the comments below so I can share those as well. Supporters Club, your names are on the screen now. Thank you so much for your support. It's by no means necessary. If you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thank you so much. We will see you in the next one. Take care.